a certain type of way about another people who was actually treating them bad. So then you have somebody come up to them and say, well, listen, these same people treating you bad was your King James. These same people who are treating you a certain type of way authorized the Bible. So how can you trust the Bible if the people that are doing this to you, see, is now the authority of your book? Lay down your book. They wanted you to do that. Not because you studied the book and know whether or not it's correct or incorrect, because of what you were feeling emotional during a time of racial friction. So during that time, they was able to fragment the people with what? Black nationalistic teachings, and claiming that our religion that we should follow is Islam, and that the Bible, we shouldn't follow that because King James was a white homosexual. They use an emotional point to take us away from the Bible. During the civil rights, so-called civil rights movement, there was a fragment amongst our people. We all agreed that the oppression of government was wrong, but some people use that as a pretext to introduce Islam and to smear the Bible and take us away from the truth concerning the book. Now, let's get back on track here. Let me first give you a picture of him again. Let me show you him again. Now, some people will say, well, there's pictures of him being white. Yeah, but these are whitewashed Renaissance pictures of King James that are white, that they have that out there that are white. See, they could not whitewash this image because it was done on cloth. And if they would have tried to whitewash this image, they would have destroyed a great piece of art. So instead of destroying it altogether, they just put it away into universities where only certain people could view it. And they know that our people are not interested in literature like this anyway. So if you want to hide something, you put it in a book. How many of you out there who claim that King James was a white homosexual and lied on him did actual research concerning him? There he is right there. Now, he was also responsible for calling a decree for the translation of the Old and New Testament of the original Hebrew and Greek tongues, which we have in front of us, all right, and have read. This translation is known today as the King James Version 1611 Bible, and as the most accurate translation of the Bible, simply because it correlates almost exactly with the Hebrew and Greek text it was translated from, the scrolls. You understand? And that's why you're not supposed to be dealing with any other book. These new King James versions, these new NIVs, is to actually separate you from the truth concerning the accuracy concerning the King James Bible. That's why they came up with these new books. And the Jehovah Witness translation. They did all these new translations knowing that we would one day wake up and begin to cleave to that original literature, our ancestors' scrolls, which have been translated into the King James Version Bible. Now, let's speak of some of King James' political views. He was a staunch opponent against the establishment known as the Roman Catholic Church. In all the literature, he was their arch enemy. Okay? So when the Christianity came over to the New World that they have given to the world, it wasn't the real church that came over to the New World to bring forth Christianity. It was the bastard Roman Catholic Church. King James was trying to protect the integrity of Christ's church. He made such quotes in his book, King James, the 6th and the 1st AP, which I have in front of me. I don't want to go through the whole book, but I'll give you some excerpts. He have one excerpt, the Pope is Antichrist. And King James, the 6th and the 1st, meditation upon Revelations 27 through 10. And last but not least, the scripture forbid to worship any image of anything that God created. So King James in his book was making quotes concerning Exodus the 20th chapter, not to have any level of idolatry, and was pointing out the Roman Catholic Church as the church of idolatry. That's King James. You've never heard this before, but he was in war against the Roman Catholic Church, right? Also in certain literature, King James VI and first, a premonition of all most mighty monarchs. Here we have listed just a few of many of the quotes of King James. In fact, James authored many books exposing and opposing everything from the Roman Catholic Church to the Rosicrucian, which we know is a satanic a religious faction. He also wrote against the Catholic Church, the Rosicrucian order of witchcraft and sorcery that began to rise while he was still on the throne. So you had a political and a religious faction that was looking to wipe King James off the map. Now, a collection of King James writings can be found in a hard book named, listen to the name, The Works of the Most High and Mighty Prince James. Now we can see why the Roman Catholic Church didn't take any measure to protect King James' character. They were his enemy. And come to find out, all the rumors sprung up after he was already dead. There was no such rumor as King James sleeping with his mother or being a homosexual, anything like this, while King James was alive. Now, let's deal with each point of character, starting with King James was a homosexual, right? Mm-hmm. This is probably one of the most prominent of all accusations against him. Yet there's very little to no one that I've seen have actually researched this accusation and found it to be true. So the question is it true or false? Was King James a homosexual? Let's think about it for a moment. Let's talk about it. Let's go straight to it. Let's speak of his family. Let's speak of his family and what he was about. And I want you to think about this yourself. Now, let's go straight into it. Number one. First and foremost, we would like to establish the fact that King James was not a Caucasian, which we have established. In fact, many of the rulers of Europe from about 193 up to the 16th century were black nobility, which I spoke of earlier. And what I would like to do is for you, those that have the literature in front of you, I want you to look at page 4, right? Which is a portrait of Jan Mastart, a nobleman of the Queen of Austria. You see him? Now it's almost funny because every time I see the picture, I say this looks like lawyer a little bit. Looks like lawyer, right? Page 4. Do we look like a slave to you? We look like an uneducated slave to you, right? I want you to, we're going to keep on going here. The early 1500s, there's a sister with an earring on around her, and she have a little ribbon tied around her head. Look at her hairstyle, similar to the hairstyle the sisters have today, right? That's on a coat of arms in Belgium. That's on page 5 of your literature. I need you to look at the next coat of arms in Fressing. That's a black man of nobility with a crown from the 1500s, the early 1500s, showing you the time period of what you would normally see on the coat of arms during the time that black people ruled England. Slaves will never get this information within the United States and all the slave territories in which our people were led captive. Now there's more. I need you to go to page 6, St. Maurice. See that? Look at St. Maurice in his coat of arms. In this coat of arms, and look at the armor he have. Look at that hat he have on there. Look at his bush. Okay, that's St. Maurice. That's just proof of what was going on in Europe during the time that we were ruling, fighting against the Roman Catholic Church. And for those who think there's only one picture of King James, on page 6, we have 2 other pictures outside sources that was actually painted on different canvases showing King James pictures of him being a black man on page 6. For those who have the Academy literature, you have that. And see, and that's the proof that you'll need to refute some of these lies. But let's talk about his color and the homosexual remarks that was made. So I had to put that out there. Now, so the idea of him being Caucasian is out of here. Now let's talk about him being a homosexual. Where and how did this understanding come to fruition? Is there any substantial proof showing this to be true? Now, the answer to this question goes back to the year 1650. 25 years, mind you, after King James' death. Now, the author of these allegations of him being a homosexual came from Sir Anthony Welding. All the literature that you will see on King James being of homosexual persuasion usually come from this particular literature, and this is what Egyptologists use and black people that are against the Bible use to say that there's old literature proving that King James had a homosexual partner in all this, right? Now, let's go into it. Sir Anthony Weldon, a 17th century courtier and politician who had personal vendetta against James. That's one who you would like to get to write a memoir of you. Your enemy, right? He had a personal vendetta against King James. And in this book, he have a book called The Court and Character of King James. That is what's used. The Roman Catholic Church paid Sir Anthony Weldon to write this literature to smear the future character and shaping King James' character with the black population. They was actually aiming this towards us so that we could not respect him as nobility and think that we are great, and it would put a wedge between us and the Bible whom King James authorized. See that? So the Roman Catholics didn't come to give you the truth concerning the ministry of Christ. They became the authorities over the book so they can ration and give you what they needed to control you within the book. They never wanted you to know that the book was yours and it was authorized by black people. Now, there's another author, Francis Osborne. He's another guy that the Roman Catholic Church paid. Okay? He also had a problem, and these are well-documented reports of his friction against King James during King James' life. So why is it that his enemies' information is the information that's promoted concerning King James? No one have even asked that question. None of you have ever known this up until the time you've actually heard this video. Now, let's talk about what we know of King James outside of his enemies. Okay, first, King James had a wife. They had 9 children. Her name was Anne of Denmark, another black woman. This was James' only wife. He was faithful. And they married in the year 1589. So you would have think all the rumors concerning King James, that there will be one rumor about his wife and 9 children. Mm-hmm. Not rumor. You would think that someone would stand up and say, well, hold up with all these smearing, this smearing campaign concerning this man. He did have a wife and 9 children, you know, and he was faithful. He only had one wife. 9 children. Not one argument to back King James' character came from the Roman Catholic Church or the European powers or the monarchy that rules today. This literature is well-known literature. So why don't they promote that? They want you to think of King James as an evil man because that automatically ties